Best of r/malicious compliance episode 115. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. Bless me Reddit, for I have sinned. First time poster. Backstory. I work for this small company and I'm friends with the owner. He's been overseas for almost a year and I'm pretty much dealing with all the office work. I just message him whenever something important comes into the company emails. When the virus hit we were all furloughed due to him still being stuck overseas, but I still checked the company emails from time to time and did a little office work, pro bono because he's our friend and landlord. Also it's nothing difficult. So an important email comes in, a court case the company is being asked to witness about, and of course I message him. As usual days go by without him even reading it, so I give him a bigger and remind him I can only help him if he reads his freaking correspondence. He messages back saying leave the emails alone. I can't afford to pay you until I get back. Might just be me but I didn't like his tone. Did I mention I've been doing this for free? QMC. An email popped in that very same day, today, asking to confirm that we want to cancel our employee health insurance plans. This is something boss has been on my ass about for months again, mainly because it takes days for him to reply to a simple query. Don't want me checking company emails? Fine. Enjoy paying an additional 2-3 months health insurance. TL. Dr. Boss wants me to stop helping him with emails. He misses an important and potentially expensive email. Thank you. Next. Back in 7th grade, we had an assignment where we had to make cars out of limited materials. The only items we were allowed to use were 6 inches of wire, unlimited printer paper, unlimited glue. The rules for the car were as follows. They were going to be pushed down a ramp, so they had to be able to roll. No points would be taken off if it couldn't make it down to the bottom of the ramp, but the car that made it furthest would get bonus points. They had to carry a pink eraser. The eraser had to be able to be removed and placed back in, so you couldn't glue the eraser into the car or completely conceal the eraser. I went to a really small school and my parents got a jump start on my education at home. So I had always breezed through school and assumed this would be no different. My smartass decided to wait until the night before it was due to start it. I had an idea of how I wanted to structure it and figured it would be easy enough to put together. Then I sat down with the materials and realized 6 inches of wire was not nearly as much as I thought it would be and I had no backup plan. I took the assignment out to my dad, and to his credit, he was excited for the challenge and completely overlooked that I had gotten into this mess by being a lazy procrastinator. He called my older brother for ideas while I sat around folding paper in various ways and stared in dismay as I was faced with the prospect of my first ever consequences for procrastination. Until I realized something. The rule wasn't that it had to have wheels, the rule was that it had to roll. And the instructions said we could use the various materials, not that we had to. And technically, the teacher didn't actually define what she meant by car. So I got rid of the wire entirely, folded and wrapped several pieces of paper around a pink eraser and glued the paper to itself, then molded it with my hands until I could remove and replace the eraser without the overall structure collapsing. Basically, my car was just a paper tube held together with a little glue and hand sweat. My dad and brother, seeming rather deflated that the challenge was solved without them, admitted that I hadn't broken any rules here, and if I felt comfortable submitting a wad of paper for a grade, then they wouldn't stop me. So off I went to school the next day with my car stuffed in my jacket pocket. When I showed up, everyone had these carefully crafted, beautiful things with wheels. One guy had even made the entire car out of glue and was forward thinking and patient enough to wait for it to dry. Truly impressive shit. My friends asked if I forgot my car, and with a shit-eating grin, I said, nope, and whipped that dumb little tube out of my pocket. They stared in confusion, and one person said, but it has to have wheels. I said, nut up, it says it has to roll. I checked. Everyone looked pissed as hell, rightfully so, that they had spent hours and days working on their projects and I just strolled in with a fucking paper tube. One guy did burst into laughter and said that was brilliant, so that made me feel at least a little justified. My tube car barely made it halfway down the ramp, but the teacher had also said it didn't actually have to work well as long as it met all the criteria, which it did. I wound up getting the lowest grade in the class, at a 95%. Since it was a completion grade, and everyone else followed the rules, They all got at least 100% if not more due to the bonus points. Teacher pulled me aside, trying not to laugh, and said she was giving me an A for following the instructions, but that I clearly put no real effort into my car compared to everyone else and it wasn't fair to the other students to give me an equal grade to them. Flawed I had gotten away with it. I accepted gladly, and I'm still a lazy procrastinator to this day. Thank you. Next. So this was a few years ago, 2016, and my sister's story, in the UK, TLDR is at the bottom. Not sure if this belongs here but here we go. I have lived in London my whole life to see my area develop through the years, especially diversity of people. It was the day after the referendum vote and the results were in. I won't go into how unhappy I was with the result, but the UK had decided. For any non-EU readers, basically, Brexit. In the wake of the Brexit result, hate crimes spiked massively. I had personally been told to fuck off back to my own country on my way to work that morning. Okay, enough background info. Get it together, Panda 2622. So my sister was at a senior position at a busy London hospital in one of the most ethnically diverse communities. It was on a night shift at about 9 p.m. the day after the referendum when an older white lady came into hospital with her 19-year daughter who was suspected to be in labor. She approached the front, provided her notes and was triaged. It wasn't the busiest night and she'd only had to wait about 3 minutes before she was ready to be taken into the ward for examination. My sister, being a manager, looked over her notes. She was 38 weeks, low risk, first baby, and contractions were 20 minutes apart, so she would probably be examined and sent home with advice to return later. She approached them in the waiting area when she noticed disgust on the mother's face and her whisper something to her daughter, who then rolled her eyes. It's important to note at this point my sister, petite and fairly baby-faced, she had been qualified for over 7 years at the time, so was used to people assuming she was not qualified yet and judging her based on her appearance. The older lady then stood up whilst her daughter was still seated and the conversation went like this. Mother, no, nope, not gonna happen. My sister, I'm sorry, mother, it's not gonna happen. Nope. Keep walking. My sister, sorry, could you please explain what's going on? Mother started talking super slowly as if my sister didn't understand English. Mother, I'm going to make this clear so you can hurry up and get someone who can actually do their job. We want someone white to deliver this baby. We have the right to this just like you lot do with translators, so go and get someone white. My sister, I'm sorry, Miss Boo. Mother, do you not understand? I don't want your dirty brown hands touching my granddaughter. So go and get someone else. My sister to daughter, are you confirming you're refusing treatment from myself or any other non-white staff members on my ward? Mother, yes she is. Why are you still standing here? My sister, I need to hear that from your daughter. Again, is that what you're confirming? Daughter didn't look like she could care less at this point, with them both spitting as they spoke. Daughter, yes, I only want to be seen by someone white. No blacks, or kiss. My sister, so you understand what you're saying, you have the right to refuse treatment as do we in treaty. Daughter, yes, can you just go, man? You're getting on my nerves, UHH. Mother speaking over daughter, we don't want any dirty PXKIS or mxnkeys near my granddaughter. What? Don't you understand? Just fuck off and get someone white out here, and I don't mean any foreigners who can barely speak English either. Mother starts to talk to her daughter how she's happy that once Brexit is over she won't have to deal with these idiots everywhere etc. Bearing in mind, Brexit was nothing to do with race and doesn't mean any less BAME workers. It seemed like a lot of people thought it meant sending Asians and Africans to their home countries, even if British. Woman with medium skin tone face palming. At this point my sister goes on to her ward, tells a few of her staff what's going on and that there's a lady out there who doesn't want to be seen by anyone unless they're white. This is where they comply. They had just one white woman who worked on the ward who was in fact on rest days and lived about 2h away. They continued with their night and carried on trudging and taking women into the ward. My sister asked others going out there to keep an eye on the situation before she went back out to admit another lady onto the ward about 50 minutes later. Mother, there she is, stupid cow. Oh, are you? Daughter, oh I'm still waiting. Are you getting someone to look at me or not? Otherwise I'll go home, rolls eyes. My sister, sorry, I clearly recall you didn't want any non-white people helping you. Unfortunately this is area name and all of the staff on my ward tonight have dirty brown hands, so you may need to go and visit his hospital or Y hospital where they can help you further. If you go home without examination and your contractions are about 4-6 minutes apart, then I'm happy for you to return and deliver on our ward, but our hands, although gloved, would need to touch your baby. Mother, are you taking the piss? We've been waiting for a fucking hour for you to tell me this bullshit. Go and get the supervisor, you CXNT. My sister, I am the ward manager tonight. You can take the above advice and I can help you, or security can escort you out. Daughter, start swearing. They both left. About 5 AM they both came back in with the father of the baby, also about 19, and my sister was called to deal with them. Daughter visibly in pain and wincing as she spoke. My sister to daughter, hi, we're going to take you onto the ward now, I'll get you a porter. Daughter, alright thanks. Mother visibly annoyed, I'm guessing you've had enough time to get someone else in then? My sister, no, that's not how this works. Daughter, Mum, just leave it. I don't care who helps. Just stop it. Mother, no, this is the issue with your kind. You think you're above. My sister, your daughter is in labor. Either you get escorted out by security and wait outside until your granddaughter is born, or you shut up, keep your opinions to yourself and get to stay for the delivery. This is not about you right now. Is that clear? Mother, no, I don't care. I don't want to see someone like you touching up on my granddaughter. My sister, okay, understood. You won't. My sister called security and had the mother escorted off the ward so she wouldn't have to technically witness it. The daughter actually ended up being much nicer and said she was happy her mother wasn't there. Apparently the mother didn't look my sister in the eye when she later came into the room to see baby. TLDR. Post-Brexit. Older white lady and her daughter who was pregnant go into hospital, don't want to be seen by anyone unless they're white. Even though they're in a very diverse London hospital, staff leave her waiting as they don't have any white staff to deal with her. Once she lets them treat her, mother says she doesn't want to see brown hands on her daughter, so they comply and she is escorted out. Edit. Post removed as I used acronyms in the conversation. Had to rewrite names for it so it may read weirdly. Some info removed to ensure more anonymity. Thank you. Next. In my grade 12 year, I took a career class that was required of everyone. It was a silly class in where teachers are supposed to teach you how to prepare for life after high school. I'm sure there are teachers out there that really care about the course and will come up with engaging assignments and activities that students can get into. However, my teacher was nothing like that. She was a math/physics teacher that had to take the course in order to retain her salary. Each week, she assigned us anywhere from 5-10 questions that we would be required to submit the following week. I would write a decent paragraph, even more if required, for each question, so I was submitting a page or two each week and was happy with the 10/10s I was getting back. However, after the third week, my friends next to me were getting the same scores but only submitting a sentence for each question. As it was a course I didn't care about, and that each assignment was probably worth about 5% total of my total grade, I did an experiment. I took the first assignment, erased the date, title and mark, which was conveniently written in pencil, with the new assignment's title and date, and submitted it. Following week, I get it back, 10/10, with the mark again in pencil. I realized that my teacher was merely marking for completion and didn't actually read over any of what was written. So I continued to hand in assignments with the correct title and date, but had she actually read what was written, it would have made no sense. We also only had one test, with a bonus question, the entire year, but we just had to swap with someone else in the room. The guy I traded with offered mark mine all right and I'll do the same for you. So that's how I ended up with 102% in a course I spent most of my time playing tabletop curling with my friends. Thank you. Next. I used to work a crappy retail job in LA, and the boss had just hired a new assistant manager. Picture a blonde Karen who appears to be in her 40s but tells everyone she's 33, who has just divorced from her Beverly Hills doctor or dentist husband and now has to actually work for the first time in her life to support herself and her 4 children. On her first week there, this super smart lady left her Louis Vuitton bag open on the break room table, instead of locking it in her assigned locker, and someone stole $200 from her purse. Not saying it was her fault. It was definitely the thief's fault for taking something that didn't belong to them, but Karen's response to it was just stupid. Assistant Manager Karen then told us that as a new policy, no one could enter the break room without her permission, so that she would know who was going in there and when, so that if anything else was stolen she'd have a clear culprit. I'm not sure how she intended to enforce this during the time she wasn't in the store, but maybe it didn't matter if other people besides her got stolen from. For reference, this was the first theft any of us had seen since being at the company. I don't think they ever caught whoever it was that stole from her because we were too cheap to have security cameras in our break room, which was an old single-room bathroom with the toilet ripped out and a table and lockers put in, but part of me really wouldn't be surprised if Karen had misplaced the $200 herself or had never had $200 to begin with. Well, we obviously didn't like Karen strutting into our workplace and trying to limit our access to our own break room, so cue malicious compliance. Every time our hands were sticky and we needed to wash them in the break room sink, we interrupted Karen. Every time we needed to take a drink of water, which we were only allowed to do in the break room, we interrupted Karen. Every time we needed to sweep something up but the broom was in the break room, we interrupted Karen. Every time we had to throw something away but the trash can was in the break room, we interrupted Karen. Every time we needed to restock a product that had a box of it sitting in the break room, we interrupted Karen. Karen could barely get her own inventories and paperwork done because of how often we needed her permission to open the break room door. She ended up getting so frustrated that the new policy lasted about 3 days, and she quit soon after that. I now have a much better job that doesn't involve retail in the slightest. Thank you. Next. This happened to my boss earlier this week, and I was super impressed by her quick thinking. I hope you are too. I work at a shop that sells a specific artisan food item in the UK. We're still open during quarantine because part of the business is online, so we either deliver local packages personally or get a national courier service to send parcels overnight. While we have the courier service come collect parcels every day, sometimes it's cheaper to go through the post office if delivery is in some weird place like the Scottish Highlands or one of the Isles. Anyway, my boss goes over to the post office to deliver one of these parcels. It's a cardboard box, which is almost a perfect cube, except it's a few centimeters higher than it is wide. The address is written along the side. Once there, the postal worker gets one of those plastic boards with parcel-shaped holes in it to test where the parcel can fit and therefore its size classification. Here's where things get weird. The postal worker classes the parcel way bigger than usual, doubling the postage price because it won't fit through the plastic cutout. My boss explains if the postal worker puts the parcel on its side, it fits perfectly. Apparently, that's not allowed. Postal workers couldn't possibly send the parcel on its side. If my boss wants to send it, she'll have to agree to pay the extra postage. End of discussion. Well, my boss has a trick up her sleeve, aka a Sharpie. She crosses out the address, flips the box on its side, and rewrites the address again, so the height of the box is now smaller than its width. The same box is now classed as a smaller size. We don't have to pay almost a tenner extra. May not be loads, but the pandemic hasn't exactly been great for business, and I get a fun story to tell on Reddit. Everyone wins. Thank you. Next. First off, sorry on mobile. I was listening to r/ while working and a story reminded me of this. I wouldn't call this completely malicious, but a reason why you should listen to the cashier. They've usually have done their job before. This happened about 8 years ago when I worked at a gas station while in school. TLDR at the bottom. This happened during some time when the Powerball had a fairly high jackpot. Nothing crazy but higher than normal. Some info on the lottery for those unaware: you can fill out a sheet with your numbers, and have multiple sets of numbers. You pay $2 to $3 for each set on a ticket. This is ran through a machine and a receipt is printed. At that point the store is charged for the entry, so the customer needs to pay for it. You can choose to have the same numbers run for more drawings after. You just check a box for how many drawings you want. If you run a ticket through the machine twice, it just makes a duplicate for the same drawing. So I guess if you win twice as much, excluding the jackpot. But not really something anyone would do. This woman, not really a Karen but let's call her that, came in with a thick wad of cash and a pre-filled ticket. I greet her and she just drops the ticket on the counter without replying. Karen, I need this put through the machine 20 times. I look down at the ticket. 5 sets of numbers all with power play. One drawing of this costs $15, so if she wants it to draw for the next 20 drawings it would cost $300. But what she said it's she wanted the same ticket 20 times all for the next drawing. Same price but not what people normally want. Me. Okay, did you mean you wanted this to run for the next 20 drawings? Karen. No, I said I want you to put this in the machine 20 times so I have 20 individual tickets. Me. So you want this all to draw at the same time? Karen. Yes, that's what I said. Me. Okay, I just want to be sure that's what you want. So these will all be duplicate tickets all drawing on Friday. Can't remember when actual drawing was. Karen. MMMHHHMMM. So I take the ticket and run it through. Out pops the confirmation ticket and receipt. I look up and she just says yep, keep putting it through. I do this a few more times and just ask. Okay again. You're sure this is what you want? They will all draw on Friday only? Karen just sighed and confirmed yes. I kept going and sometime after the 12th or 13th one she says, Karen, so do I just keep these for all the drawings after Friday? Me. Stopping feeding the ticket into the machine. No, these will all draw on Friday only and be done, just like you requested. Again, do you mean you want them to run on every drawing afterwards? Karen now confused. Yes. Me. Okay, that's why I was asking so many times. These will not do that. They will draw once and be done. Karen starts saying well that's not what she meant and she doesn't want the ones I already printed off and says who would want that? Me. Exactly why I asked you so many times. I'm sorry but you need to buy these as there is no way we will be able to sell them. Karen. No, I won't. I want the ones I asked for. She was starting to get upset and at this point our awesome assistant manager, AM, who was nearby stepped in. AM, excuse me mom, but I heard our employee ask you several times before he started and he even explained the difference to you. We cannot sell the tickets printed out, which he only did after you repeatedly stated that's how you wanted them done. Karen started to look like she was going to bolt out the door at this point, so AM added, and if you don't we'll have to treat it as theft and call the cops. Karen finally relented and bought the tickets. She then used the remainder of her money to buy the tickets how she intended to, just not as many draws. She left without another word. She honestly wasn't that bad, but she did have some attitude like she knew everything. Still, I hope at least one of her numbers won on that first drawing so she'd get back most of what she spent. Just want to say thanks to all the YouTubers who read off Reddit stories. They help me get through the day. Special shout out to r/Ripe, Dark Fluff, and Storytime. TLDR, woman doesn't understand how the lottery works but acts like she does. Pays almost $200 on nearly worthless tickets.